Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Unshakeable Christian video blog. In this blog, what we're going to do is we're going to address how to prove to an atheist that they are worshiping a God. Now, this might seem a little bit weird to you because atheists claim there is no God. Well, that's the whole point. You want to open their minds up to where they admit that they are at least worshiping something. Now, being a former atheist myself and hanging around a bunch of people that were into the whole being an atheist, being an agnostic, and then branching off into religions such as Wiccan and the natural uh, spirituality and stuff like that, I have kind of an understanding of how people work and think in this area. I'm not an expert and I don't claim to be. I know from personal experience and from other people that I've talked to. So, that being said, let's get started on it. The first thing you need to understand when you're talking to an atheist is that you cannot bring the Bible as your primary reference source. I know this might go against about two-thirds of what people believe, but you have to understand that an atheist has already discredited the Bible. They don't believe it to be a factual book. They believe it to be a book of literature, or they just discredit it as being junk. So even though we as Christians believe it to be the Word of God, you have to present something different to the atheist to think about. So the way that I usually try to open up a conversation when we're discussing God and the Bible is I ask an atheist, what do you define as being God or a God? Now, for the most part, what you'll get that God is a mythological creature created by people that don't have the mind capacity to govern themselves, or that God is a being that has been created to rule people and control their lives and to give some kind of order to the chaos which is the world. Something to that effect. Granted, these answers might vary slightly, but that's going to be the gist of the answer that you get. Uh, Now, at this point, if an atheist just refuses to talk about God, you just hang it up. You're not going to get any ground. But most of the time, I found that atheists are very open to discuss with you. The reason is they want to convince you just as much as you want to convince them. Now, here's where the danger is. You have to be deeply grounded in your beliefs before you go head to head with somebody that's an atheist or an agnostic. You can easily be persuaded to sway your doctrine if you do not have a firm grasp of the scriptures. I would not recommend going toe to toe with somebody that has been an atheist for a long time if you have not been in the Bible and really prayed up. That being stated, after you ask this question to an atheist and they give you this response, then the next question, the follow-up question to this would be actually, so you believe that God was created to control people's lives, and people have to worship something that gives them a sense of control and a sense of order. And off of this, the atheist or the agnostic will probably see where you're trying to go with this, and they'll say, yes, but I'm in control of my own life. There's no God that's going to control me. I don't believe in that. I believe I'm in charge of my own destiny and that we decide our own fate, or we're just creatures that of chaos, and anything that happens to us is just because the cosmos, say it, and they'll spew out a bunch of stuff similar to that. If they've stated that they are in control of their own destiny and that they control their own fate, then this is where you present them with the knowledge that they actually do believe in a God. And the way that you do this is you say, so by the way you're reasoning, by the way that you're talking, you do believe in a God, and that God is yourself. Because by your definition, you said that somebody or something that controls the affairs of man and controls their fate and controls the order of that person's life is a God. By your own admission, what you have stated is you are in control of your own fate, of your own destiny, and of the own structure of your life. Therefore, you are your own God. Can we admit on that? And a lot of the times they'll say, yes, I'll admit that I am my own God. I control my own fate. Then what you have done is you have literally made the atheist into an agnostic. Because an atheist says there is no God. There's no room for there to be a God. Which means that they can't be a God. There can't be the Christian God that we believe in. There can be no other gods. But by having them admit that they believe they are a God, then you can start to work them towards the true God, the God of the Bible. So that's the opening the door. Now, again, as I stated, you do not want to go toe to toe with an agnostic that is very, very grounded in their beliefs. If you were not very, very grounded in yours, there are some really strong arguments that they can give, which they make sense to most people. They make sense scientifically. Again, it comes down to a thing that's based on faith. So, you've gotten the atheists to admit that they believe that they are a God. Now, this is where some people start to err. Right after that, people want to just barge in and start giving them scriptures. Well, if you believe that you're God, that means you believe in evil. That means you believe that there could be the existence of a God, and you just are confused about which God to serve. You do not want to do that. Give them time to think. Give them the time to reason. Atheists and agnostics are very analytical. We like to break things down. By we, I'm saying my former self, not me as of now. I'm a Christian now. I've been a Christian for a while. But they like to break things down. They like to reason it out. They like to see if there's a loophole. They like to see if there's another argument for it. And if they present you with a question, answer it. If you can't answer it, tell them you'll get back to them. The worst thing that you can do is try to rationalize and reason an answer from an atheist that you do not understand. All you're going to do is confuse yourself and the atheist. So that's all I'm going to talk about in this one. As I said, this is just the very basic how to get the door open with an atheist. Again, if they're not willing to talk, don't force yourself on them. There are other ways to open the door. Don't get into needless debates. Timothy tells us not to do that. But what you can do is you can relate to them on a level where they can start to try to reason different things out. For example, you can talk about the flood, Noah and the flood. Okay? Most world cultures have the flood. So you can talk about that and compare them. And then from that, you can branch off. Well, you see, there's some truth in this. Maybe there's more stories that are real. Again, do not try to shove the Bible down an atheist's throat. Try to open the door. Try to present a way that they can get their own thoughts and their own processes going. And then from there, branch off and slowly engraft the word into your conversations. This is the best method that I found. It worked with me. I'm sure it can probably work with you and the person you're trying to talk to God about. So, that being stated, if you have any questions, I'm going to go more in depth as the weeks progress on this. But if you have specific questions or you want to know a little bit more about how to break the ice with the atheist, be sure to comment below and I'll respond to you. Or you can look at the Tumblr, which is on one of these sides up here, depending on how the camera captured it. And it'll go a little bit more in depth. Until next week, take care.